ad for Redfall. I'm a huge fan of the recent last 10 years or so Arkane games, so of course I'm pretty disappointed for this one. It's a massive failure on Bethesda as a publisher for trying to push a live service angle on this, especially when they didn't even end up going with that. Microsoft also should have stepped in, even though their staying out of things policy is generally good. This was definitely an exception. They should have at least known the quality of their product wasn't up to par. The Arkane team didn't want this many employees left, leaving only around 100 on a AAA game by the end of it. Really quickly, before we get into the video, my game on Steam is Silk on Shadow, which is my new short-length game on Steam, which is about an AI taking over a space station with a retro-futuristic noir atmosphere. Thank you to anyone who checks that out. Back to the game. Shooting is very basic in concept and not very good in execution. Now, the base camera look settings, there's this weird pause when you there's this weird slight pause when you change directions. It can sort of be fixed by messing with the settings, but it still doesn't feel great. There's also an awkward hard aim assist. The guns can have some decent feeling impacts, so occasionally, it's like in Deathloop. In terms of powers, I was only able to use Devender's powers because the game doesn't allow you to switch characters mid-campaign, even though I'm pretty sure they said that you could do that in the marketing. There's also something, I believe they also said there was public lobbies in the marketing, which there isn't. They are decent abilities. You had the Shock Spirit, the Teleport Grenade, which are good, and the UV AoE super thing is good. Problem is, that's it. That's all. You only get 3 abilities, which is much less than your regular Arkane game. I think the idea was that as a team you combine them all together and you feel more powerful, but it makes for a pretty lackluster single player experience. Also, it's annoying to wait for the teleport grenade to recharge when you're trying to scale a cliff instead of walk all the way around it. Also, the abilities have decent upgrades, minus that there are a lot of co-op only ones. There's bad loot in this game. Most games that have loot do it wrong. I really hope there's less loot games in the future. There's a decent gun selection, but the numbers in turn are all over the place. Also, automatic weapons always had the best TPS no matter what. The enemies aren't good. They're not interesting. The AI is bad, much worse than in Deathloop even, which got criticized for that. There's a huge reaction time issue where it takes enemies like a full 2 seconds to notice you when you're right in their face. And some of them don't even react until you shoot them. The humans are boring basic enemies overall, but they're actually more of a threat than the base vampires. There's much more of them. And the base vampires should be tougher to justify their low numbers and lack of range attacks. And also it feels like and that would also help make them feel like the real villains, which it seems like they're supposed to be. Also, the vampires are supposed to be more affected by anti-vampire weapons, such as that being the UV gun and the stake launcher. But the automatic weapons are more effective no matter what. Outside the mini bosses and bosses, the mini bosses are pretty much the same as normal vampires, but with more health and some special abilities. Also shields. The bosses are terrible. It's just shoot them, then either hide or shoot some ads, then repeat. And some of them have terrible frame rate that significantly make them harder. And I don't usually talk about frame rate, so it's pretty bad. Exploration is bad. Not much to do, a lot of walking around with relatively few fast travel points. The structural level design isn't near on par for Arkane. The flow is mostly standard, and there's few unique paths. And the paths that do exist don't really have much usefulness, considering that stealth isn't really very well emphasized in this game. The mission design is bad. Bad mission design is definitely the most prevalent issues in bad games. It's always go to a series of points over and over. And there are a couple of particularly terrible main missions. One is literally just go get a shotgun from the trunk. That's it. It's not even a very good shotgun. And the other is go kill one regular vampire. He's in a specific place and has lore, but that's it. Just go kill one regular vampire. That's the entire mission. The side missions are terrible and even more repetitive because they have no real story. And twice in the main campaign, you're forced to do a bunch of them. As for the multiplayer, I wasn't able to play because there are no public lobbies. And I don't have any friends that play games, much less ones that will play Redfall. The story and world is pretty meh. I was worried that the main characters would be annoying, like hello fellow kids type characters. But at least that would have made me feel something. Going off Devender, they're pretty dull, and so are the side characters. There's like, the only kind of compelling one was a taxidermy lady in the second half. Also, the humor is pretty dull. The aesthetics are alright. With the northeastern beach town scenery. But alright's pretty subpar for Arkane. The Psychic Dimension stuff is pretty good, with how it's like physically twisted and has a harder horror atmosphere. I wish the whole game looked like that. The music is decent, but it's annoying to hear the same songs spawning in at the safe houses every time. There are many bad aesthetic glitches in this game, but I do want to say that aesthetic glitches do often get too much highlight because it's like, haha, funny T-pose, I'll make a good YouTube thumbnail. When things like bad level design should take center stage, although I know it's not a very feasible reality. That being said, there are some significant bad gameplay glitches. The most prevalent one being where after you hit B to remove the mission over UI thing, it causes you to be unable to crouch. It seems like it doesn't properly switch between UI and game mode in terms of controls. Also, occasionally the Rook mini boss wouldn't take damage until reloading the area. Overall, even though I was before launch, it's still an incredibly disappointing game. That's a look bad for a great developer being effed over by its publisher. The gameplay is lackluster, the missions and AI are bad, and most everything else is dull. But if you really want to use your Game Pass this month, or maybe just want to waste some time, go play Trailmakers or Amnesia the Bunker. They're actual good games. Anyway, so I'm giving Redfall a 4.72 out of 10. So that's it. Thank you to anyone who likes, comments, or subscribes. That's it.